Released in 1968, Destroy All Monsters, or as it's known in Japan, Attack of the Marching Monsters. This is one of the most well-known Godzilla movies out there. It is a permanent place in my top 10 until otherwise removed, but highly unlikely. Behind it, the forefathers of Godzilla. It basically is one of the highlights of the entire genre, let alone Godzilla. One of the highlights of the original series, most definitely. And it was probably the uppermost peak of the original Godzilla series, namely the Showa series. And from here, it would go downhill, although it would spike again with the Mechagodzilla movies. However, it would never again quite be on this level. And when I say that level, I mean epic. And I've reviewed this movie many times by now, and what I should simply sum it up is this is what Final Wars should have been. And that's really the best way to describe this freaking movie. For those who don't know, this movie is supposed to be the finale of the Showa series of films, but Toho saw how successful this one was at the box office and plowed forward. How ironic they would follow this up with one of the worst, if not the worst, Godzilla movie, Godzilla's Revenge, in 1969. But yeah, this film was the last to feature all four fathers of Godzilla, namely Akira Ifukube, Ishiro Honda, Eiji Tsuburaya, and Tomoyuki Tanaka. When you have all four of them together, you know you're in for a treat. One might say the series should have ended here, and while that's definitely true, if it had, we've never seen the creation of some of the fan favorites like Gigan and Mechagodzilla. It's funny that all the monsters who appeared in the latter part of the series, except for ones like Megalon and Jet Jaguar, would appear again in Godzilla Final Wars or other Millennium series, like things like Gigan, Hedorah, although Hedorah, albeit very shortly. But like I said, I definitely respect the movie for what it is, although I do recognize once it came afterwards. I'll start by saying one of the blunders of the film, its runtime. It's exactly 88 minutes, and that's basically just about as long as Mothra vs. Godzilla from 1964. That film had a total of 4 monsters. This film has nearly tripled that with, I think, about 11 monsters. So how is it possible that they're the same length? The most simplest way to put it is less characterization towards the human characters and overall, less depth to it than a movie of that nature. I mean, a lot of themes covered into this one, namely the theme of war, obviously, war between man and, of course, aliens. However, this film is to me more fun, but still that same flaw crippled movies like Tokyo SOS in comparison to its predecessor, Godzilla X Mechagodzilla. It's a constant factor with Godzilla movies. The sequels sometimes don't deliver as much as they're supposed to do. This is definitely a factor because this one's heavy on the sci-fi, heavier than usual. 8 minutes into this movie and we have our action start with the Siege of Monsterland. Compare that to Mothra vs. Godzilla. It took about 30 minutes for Godzilla to get into the mix. It definitely needed a lot more build-up to it. I will definitely say that. But overall, the plot is basically pretty solid. For anyone who doesn't know the plot by now, it's pretty simple. Aliens arrive on Earth. Basically, let me say this. This movie takes place in the future. It takes place in the year 1999. So even though it is not the last Showa film, chronologically speaking, it is the last Showa Godzilla movie. Even after the Mechagodzilla films and the war against Gigan and Megalon. This is supposed to be the very end of the Showa series chronologically, as it was intended to be. So therefore, in the future, all of Earth monsters have been captured and placed on one single island where they are basically trapped. By all means, they cannot leave because the chemicals keep them there, or little barriers keep ones like Rodan from flying away. And then from there, the Kailak aliens invade Earth, and of course take control of the monsters, and then wage war on humanity with them, because they want Earth for themselves, and it leads to an all-out battle against these alien foes. And it gets very interesting. So let's get down to one of the most obvious things, the monsters themselves. I'm not even going to bother going into detail about Baragon or Varan. These are two Toho classic monsters. and both of them don't really do shit in the whole movie. Although Baragon was supposed to attack Paris, but apparently I guess there was a conflict with the suit getting it there on time, so they had switched it to Gorosaurus. And this is pretty obvious in the film because they have Gorosaurus emerge from the ground like Baragon, and even has his roar. So it's pretty fucking obvious it was supposed to be Baragon, just like it was supposed to be Baragon and Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla. But they kept fucking Baragon over. So that leaves Varan. Why the hell are you here? Varan is really only in about 2 scenes in the movie, really. He's present at the final battle against King Ghidorah, where he's seen watching the fight but not participating. And he's seen at the very end where he briefly flies off into the distance. So yeah, Varan's probably one of the most pointless monsters to be in here. But hey, he looked cool for a second or two, right? Not any more pointless than someone like Hedorah in the new Godzilla Final Wars. This is the first movie where it introduced a new, friendlier look to Godzilla, and this was the beginning of what would be the most used suit in the Showa era, because it would be used in Godzilla vs. Godzilla vs. Gigan, Godzilla vs. Hedorah, and of course Godzilla's Revenge. As a friendly suit, it has a friendly look to it, but is far better than the laughable 1966 and 67 suits. And overall, it's not a bad suit. I can't complain. Rodan, on the other hand, looks god fucking awful in close-ups. And the sad thing is, he gets a lot of screen time compared to other monsters, despite looking so fucking shitty. When it's long shots, he looks alright, but anytime they go close to his face, it's just fucking sad. And his wings, too, are nowhere near the elegant pieces of work that used to be back in the older films, and especially in the original Rodan film. It's pretty sad how they kept degrading his fucking looks, but Rodan looks awesome in this movie, from a distance, I should say. And like I said, he gets a lot more screen time than other monsters. One of the highlights, Anguirus looks fucking fantastic. And has lots of personality to it. Compare this to the 1955 suit, which is still a pretty good suit, but they really updated Anguirus for this movie. And this is the design they would mostly keep for the rest of the Showa suits, although I will admit it does look kind of different in future films. This is definitely when it looks the best. The tusk just look amazing. The horns and spikes just look fantastic. They just did a great job of Anguirus for this movie. Kumanga, Mothra, and Gorosaurus pretty much remain the same, but except for Manda, who has lost a few of his Atragon facial features. And when I say that, because I mean, like a lot of the other Toho monsters, Manda first appeared in a solo movie, although it wasn't really about him. It was simply called Atragon. Is when naval crew went up against the kingdom of Mu, or Mu, or whatever it's pronounced, and their trump card was their sea monster Manda, who was a sea dragon who had King Ghidorah-like horns and even whiskers, kind of like a Chinese dragon. And he was defeated. For some reason, in this movie, they removed the horns and the whiskers, and the rumor has it that they did this because of the fact that Manda would look too much like King Ghidorah. Although I don't think that's really the case. There's still a lot of differences. In either case, I'm glad Manda also has a decent amount of screen time in this movie, unlike in Godzilla Final Wars, where he would get fucked over. Yeah, so we talk about Godzilla Final Wars quite a bit because those movies draw a lot of parallels with each other. And of course, they had to include Manila or Minya or Baby Godzilla, whatever you want to call him. Oh, God. God. He's just here. Although, thank fucking Christ, the movie doesn't really focus on him, so I won't be that upset about it. Another monster, I guess after all those I've already mentioned, the last monster to appear is King Ghidorah himself, who looks fucking badass. This is the last time King Ghidorah would look this good, because when he appeared in Godzilla vs. Gigan, he would look like complete and utter fucking shit. And I mean just in every aspect. The stiffness of the flying scenes, the dull color to the scales, just the random red eyes. King Ghidorah would just be butchered in the next film he appeared in. But here, King Ghidorah looks, sounds great, and even has a great personality. He takes on all these monsters head on, and of course we all know how that ends up for him. He's finally fucking killed. which like chronologically would confuse people as to how King Ghidorah died in this movie, yet somehow comes back in Godzilla vs. Gigan. But like I said, Godzilla vs. Gigan takes place before this one in the timeline. King Ghidorah would retreat from Earth and be, of course, captured by the Kylax and brought back to Earth for one final showdown, but this time he would not survive. The same is true with Godzilla vs. Gigan. I mean, as far as Gigan's fate, Gigan would retreat after Godzilla's Megalon, and then years down the line, Godzilla and Zone Fighter would kill him in one final battle, but that was in a TV show, and that wasn't in the Godzilla franchise at all. But that's an interesting thing to note. Another good thing to know about this movie, unlike Final Wars, the human characters are not overbearing in this movie. I know people say they're kind of plain compared to the awesome ones we had in Mothra versus Godzilla or Ghidorah the Monster, but to me they did all right. They did fantastically well for me. It's basically an action movie. This is just, it's hard to compare it to modern films, which, without it seeming bad. Because I don't want to say it's just a generic apocalypse doomsday movie, but at its core, it's kind of what it is, although to me it's done in a much classier way than something like the crude humor of Michael Bay movies. But the human characters are interesting, they're not overbearing, and they're definitely an important part of the story. Unlike Godzilla Final Wars, they're given things to do in the story, but without, ruining the attention from the monsters. Not to mention,